All right, hey guys, it's Turok, and today is the One Piece Raw chapter finally came out. Instead of being like on Wednesday or Thursday, it actually came out on Friday. This Friday morning, where I am. I'm in the U.S. um, and so this is another good chapter. It's like can't complain about it. It's rather short, but actually no, at the same time because it spreads out a lot of other stuff inside instead of unlike some of the others where because there's other stuff switching around too. So in the last chapter, we finally got some of the Straw Hats are starting to evacuate. Um, we got Frankie's group finally met up with Dory and Bragi, and all right, Kitty's coming over. They caught up there, and they're being escorted toward Dory and Bragi's ship. We still don't see much of what happens with the group in the labo phase. They're up there trying to get ready to escape. And I would be like Nami, Usopp, Brooke and Lilith are together on this ship, trying to get that ready because the Vega Force is out of commission, and so they're almost out. Though they're getting out of there. Usopp and Nami are taking they're with they would have to be with Stussy and Robin and Chopper, right? No, it's Chopper with Frankie. Anyways, they're all getting out of there. Meanwhile, we're switched over to we got Jinbei's trying to go find Zoro, and Zoro's holding off Lucci. And we ended the chapter with Sanji trying to get Vegapunk out of there. And initially, I thought he was going to help fight with Kizaru. Unfortunately, that was the one sad thing I was expecting in the last chapter, 1108. That did not happen. Instead, Luffy himself is trying to hold off Saturn and Kizaru by himself. And the also in the last chapter we got to see the a lot of the vice admirals. I think all the other vice admirals we just met in this arc. They got named, and they are struggling to do anything with the Buster Call between the Giants and the Mark III. They are losing having a lot of casualties, and they try going after they're making a plan out to go after Bonnie, and one of them almost actually did. The one with the otter abilities, he got stopped by Dory and Broglie, fortunately, and so that's where we're at. And right at the end, we saw that Vegapunk had made a contingency plan in case he died. So at this point, it does look like he might. We got some of the satellites are fortunately still with us. And again, I'm still worried about the labo phase, where his brain is in the labo phase. And yeah, Luffy ended part of his chapter. He turned into a giant form. He's got Kizaru and Saturn, and so that's where we're at. So we start this chapter with wait a minute, let me get it pulled up. Wait, where'd it go? Here we go. This chapter, actually, I forget to say some of the names. I think the other one was like hello. No, that's what I called it. Like welcome home. No, welcome in or something. Come on in. Because it was like that was like I think a message for like Vegapunk to the world. I forgot how it went. Anyways, this one's called Termination. And the cover page this time just shows Onigashima submerged at the bottom of the waters inside Wano, not the outside of the wall area, where the former Wano communities used to be. We see it like on top of some of the buildings. So we start off with showing the recording from the viewpoint of where it's operating somewhere in Vegapunk's lab, and we see the recording as he's prepping the message, and he what's going on here? It's actually funny that what's going on here is Vegapunk's kind of got this going on like it's a premiere, like like some people do those YouTube premieres on this site. He's got it set up. He's trying to get ready to do it, but then Shaka comes in on the recording, and yeah, so we see the screen by the way. And I missed this last time. There's a heart monitor there that somehow else is communicating with Vegapunk, and now it shows it flatlined, and it so now the video's appearing on this large monitor, or television, I guess you could call it. Actually, does anyone? That's something I just thought of. Really, no one other than Vegapunk probably really has a TVs or monitors here. When they showed Marineford, I think that was only I think the way they were doing it in Marineford, on Sabaody watching Marineford was basically projectors, right? A screen. The Den Mushi act as projectors, and they got the big screen, the big sheet, the things they pull down. I don't know if anyone has TVs yet anywhere else in the world. And I'm so sorry. I was feeling good. Now I just got my sinuses bothering me. So Shaka comes in on this recording before Vegapunk's about to continue what he wants to record as the message to the world, and says it's like he calls him Stella. Okay, they just call him Stella. And he starts saying, well, even if you have this ready to broadcast away with your heart and whatnot, and he doesn't specifically say that part. It's we're counting on too many people to receive this and relay it. And you know how it is, how it works here. That whenever news happens, it's always the next day that news is the world. So like newspapers, whenever you get like a newspaper, what he's trying to get at is like it's always the next day, because they have to find out what happened. They might interview people, and then they print it, and it gets out in the morning edition or something like that. No, wait, I think that's Vegapunk that said agencies always spread the world. Always spread it. So, okay. So conversation is basically like they're trying to figure out how to get this information, make sure everyone sees the information, and they're worried about, and they were planning on the interception and whatnot. So they figured out here the broadcast is continuing. So we see that the broadcast is showing Shaka and Vegapunk before it's like there's just this big delay before it's going to get to the part we want, basically. And they start talking about how we can use the Navy's system of Den Mushi to make it work, relay around the world. I was thinking they would just find a way to to connect to tap the network of the Den Mushi themselves, like figure out how they broadcast and make sure there's no way to intercept it. I guess so the plan here is like to use the Navy's thing. And while this is happening, some of the Marines on the ship, some other officer, we switched to another officer trying to who's listening, and as they're listening to their main Den Mushi on the ship, on the deck of the ship, right after it's talking, right after Shaka's advising the Stella to use the Navy thing, he's like, cut that off, stop it now. Because I doubt this officer understands that what Vegapunk's about to say is how important it is. He's just more concerned about how that this is a traitor. He's the traitor. We can't let his voice get out. I'm really I'm kind of disappointed in this officer. I think these other many of these other lesser officers and the rank and file, I bet are just right now wanting to know what's going on, like listen to this. But the officers are saying no, we can't basically like this is too dangerous. Like they almost understand. They probably don't. They probably just I'm probably thinking it through too much. They just want to make sure because they a lot of these officers in here, it's kind of like keys who just follow orders, and someone's labeled a traitor by the Goro state. Hey, he must be bad. There must be a reason, and it's above our pay grade type thing. Lucci's one of those people too. Was kind of different. He was like trying to ponder as the day before, and they were arriving at Egghead. I wonder if the orders for us to go after Vegapunk have to do with Lucia, and then Kaku and Stussy were like, hey, don't think about this. This is above our pay grade even. We may be the most secretive, dangerous things in the world, but if we step over the line and ask too many questions too, they'll probably just send one of our colleagues, like the ones. I wonder how many of them are left. Who died at? I think two of them died at the Cypher Zero died at Wano, right? The one guy escaped. The one that Kaido killed the one, and the other one I think was killed by what's his name from Whitebeard's crew. I forget his name now. So it's not probably. There are probably more of them assigned around the world doing some other surveillance or something, I'm assuming. But so like yeah, Kaku was like, hey, if you have something you want to ponder, fine. Kaku was almost like too. If you have some ideas, keep them to yourself. Don't let us know. We don't want to know. I want to keep my job. I like this cushy job. Stussy was saying the same thing, although now we know she was a mole. Really, she was working for Vegapunk, but she was like she played along like yeah. Let's not know anything you're thinking about, Lucci. So yeah, these officers are like they're trying to cut off the connection. So now we continue the message, the conversation between Vegapunk and Shaka, and we switch to Luffy with Saturn and Kizaru, and he pauses too, because so there must be intercoms of stuff all over the speakers all over the island, because you can tell he's stopped and he's looking. He's still holding Kizaru, and he's got Saturn there too. He's got his other hand on him, and as that's happening, we see Vegapunk saying back to Shaka, "Oh, okay. So if we use the Marines inner system of transponder standards, that will make it easier to relay that to other ones, and who has a transponder snail across the world to hear our voice message." And then he says, I still want to make sure that visual transponder snails can work where possible, so everyone can see this as well. I wonder if Vegapunk's got like a PowerPoint ready, basically to I'm thinking he's got something like that going on to show people, because I would think what he tells them would be enough, but he must have something there ready. And we don't see what that could be if I'm right here. Yeah, so and then they talk about, okay, we're gonna have to give them enough time to wait a little bit for this setup, for everyone in the world to set up, because as was pleasantly surprised that Oda went this far. Like I like that he went this far. He reminds us like that parts of the world are going to be it's going to be people are going to be sleeping. It's going to be dark, that kind of stuff. So he's like, okay, we gotta wait. We gotta give an interval. We got a time period where we're gonna wait a little bit to show the video. I guess he has no way of like putting it on like a repeat. So he says we're just gonna wait a little bit here, and so they're just chatting here together while the camera's still rolling. And this video has this extra time. When first Vegapunk says, let's wait 1 hour to let everyone do that. So at this point, as that part's coming, we switch to Saturn hearing it, and his response to, what are you planning, Vegapunk? What were you planning? I should have. He's thinking this to himself. Then we switch to the Straw Hats at the top of the lava phase. Oh yeah, there's Robin there. So we see Usopp, Nami, Chopper. Oh yeah, Chopper's the one up there. I thought he was with. I was thinking he was with Frankie for a minute, but no, he's not. It's just Frankie's with Atlas, Bonnie, and Kuma, and now they're with being escorted by Dorian Bragi's subordinates. That's right, Dorian Bragi are still coming. We haven't seen them here yet. I don't think we see them in this chapter. So, though, we as it shows the Straw Hats at the top listening. The conversation continues, and Shaka in the recording says, "No, an hour would be too long. We have to set it a little lower than that, but we'll give them enough time. An hour would make it easier for them to have time to probably like the military, the Marines or the Cipher Pole to stop it." Actually, I was watching someone else's stream this morning, and this had me thinking whether or not there's any way to make a transponder cell, the visual ones, record what they're relaying from elsewhere. So in other words, once this what is that? Oh, it's a little coffee. Once this video is displayed to the world, could someone else keep it and then start relaying to other places? Although I thought too, that person, if they start spreading around, that would be in dire danger, because the Cipher Pole would certainly, someone else would certainly snitch and report him to Cipher Pole, or the Marines himself. The Marines, and they probably send Cipher Pole too. Go get that guy. Wow, they're careful. So as we continue that conversation, we also switch to a panel now where we see one of the giant pirates fighting with Marines, and he's being fired upon by them with one's got like a big cannon, like a shotgun or bazooka looking thing, and the other ones are trying to use their swords against him. We see an explosion on this one, but he doesn't look like he's getting this is happening on one of the Marine ships too. You can see the mass falling apart around behind him, the giant. Okay, Wilder, come on. Come back. Come on, sweetie. So as that fighting is being shown there, Shaka says, "No, that's too long. Let's go a little further. There will be people, obviously the government won't be pleased, and if we give them an hour, they'll almost certainly find a way to terminate this broadcast. So let's just wait 10 minutes." And as that's going on, if we get to that part, we see briefly to Sanji listening to the broadcast, and he's still holding Vegapunk, and his eyes are closed at this point. So he's either resting. Oh wow, they don't put you down there. Or he's like me. He may be fully dead at this point. So now we switch to Marijwa, and we see something very interesting here in that. Ow! Come on, get down there, sweetie. You're too restless. Take a nap. The Gorosei appear to have a way of communicating some some telepathy. Telepathy, I think it is, to communicate with each other, and they're listening to the transmission. It's come to them now, and one of them contacts Saturn and says, "Have you dealt with Vegapunk? What's going on over there?" No. Just a minute. I gotta make a spot for my cat. She's gonna sit here. I just don't want her messing up the recording. Keyboard. How's that, Wilder? So, Saturn communicates back. Wait, what are their names again? Hold on a second. I pulled up here earlier. I want to know which one's which. Let me get this. Here. There we go. Yeah. Okay. And so Saturn communicates back. Kizaru delivered the killing blow. I saw it myself. And Mars is like, okay, then this isn't. So at first they're thinking it was a him talking live. So Saturn continues. He should be dead now. And so either what's his name? Nashiro Warkery? Or what? I'm gonna use a different name. Saint Ethan. So Ethan and Top Man are together, sitting together. So that's the one with the who has got Kitetsu the first, and the guy who got the big mustache, without the beard. He's one of them. I think it's the Ethan with Kitetsu. He says he could have set up a dead man's switch, so so this message would play when he was killed. And one of the other ones says that seems likely. So we don't know what he's even planning on saying. And then Top Man does say, we need to pinpoint. If we could just pinpoint this source, we could probably shut it off right away. And then Shepherd Peter, whatever, he says it must be up in the lava phase, but there's no way for us to get up there right now because he's got the barrier still on. Ooh. Excuse me, I need a drink. So then we switch back briefly to the video broadcast from the where it's being played on in the room, and and it shows Shaka and Vegapunk in the back talking, and then Pythagoras is coming on the camera, and I don't know what he's doing. He's just doing some checking the instruments or something, making sure the recording's going well, I assume, and while they're talking, like, oh, what do we do then while we wait for the remaining nine and a half or so minutes? We gotta like wait in this. So they're leaving the recording on. Like, what do we do now? How can we spend all our time? One of them says, I think it's Vegapunk says, when I say Vegapunk, I'm referring to the Stella. I'm trying to say Stella, but if I just say Vegapunk, I'm referring to the Stella. He's like, well, let's do some more inventing. We got so much to do. I got look at this plans I got today. I'm gonna make a new death ray. Maybe I'll improve that fly track, that lightsaber. And someone else says, I think it's Pythagoras or Shaka. One of them says, how about some coffee instead? So now we start switching to other people as they're hearing the broadcast. And all these people immediately start saying, hey, Vegapunk's on the transponder snail. We gotta set this up. This is the famous scientist who works for the government. So first we go to Dressrosa, and that's what some people are like, hey, you hear Vegapunk's on the transponder snail? He's trying to tell something to the entire world. And then some of them are like, hurry up, get a visual transponder snail out, and put up a screen. We only have 10 minutes, hurry up. And we switched to Rebecca with her father and what's his name, Leo, and some of the other some of our other allies from Dressrosa. And Leo's talking to Rebecca, and he's like, oh, that's the Vegapunk, the one that Luffy kidnapped? What's happening there? And Rebecca's like, come on, guys. I told you before, don't trust the articles in the paper. You can't believe everything they say. So they're doing a little joke with that the Tontadas, I'm trying to think of it, they're extremely they are extremely trusting of everything they hear and apparently read. So while that's happening, we see behind Rebecca and where her dad is there, they get a screen put up there, and we get to see the screen there as Shaka. It looks like Shaka is now walking away. He's probably going to get the coffee. Vegapunk's just standing there next to Pythagoras, and Pythagoras says, I'll try to calculate what the probability is that interference could happen while we wait here. And other people are like, hey, we got it ready. Look, that's Vegapunk there. So now now we go to so we get multiple places here that we've been to before. And next we go to Fuchsia Village, and I gotta get the names here. Yeah. We see one of the citizens there with a regular transponder snail, and what this guy says, oh, this is different. I thought I was just gonna be hearing news about them bad mouthing Luffy. And someone else says, oh, visual transponder snail, we don't have one. It'd be nice to have one. And this guy says to the mayor, what's his name, Whoop Slap, what about it, mayor? Can we get one? And he's like, how are we gonna pay for one of those? Raising it wouldn't be free, you know? Isn't having the audio enough? So apparently, yeah, not everyone in the world, only like probably like these bigger cities and locations like Dressrosa. So I imagine like even like say in Alabasta too, like the capital where Vivi's from. Vivi is, I don't know what their city, what was that called? Ali something. I bet they got a couple visual transponder snails, but like other small communities in Alabasta probably would not. So now we go to Water 7 and we see shoot, what's his name? Frankie's brother. Just a second. We see Iceberg in Water 7. You go to Water 7 first. I mean, this is where it shows nighttime. That Water 7 here is in the middle of is night in Water 7, which makes sense, right? Because they're in the New World now, and that's the other side. They're on the other side of the New World, so they'd be in the daytime. I think like this is the next day from when the Straw Hats arrive. So I'm guessing this is like late morning or afternoon by now. And what so I think yeah, his new assistant, that little girl named Alice, I think. I'll just say Alice for now. She wakes him up. She goes and she's heard the message, and she goes to wake up Iceberg, and tells her what's happening. And while he's like rubbing his eyes and such, Iceberg said, "Okay, well, hurry up and get the message, get the screen ready." Uh, uh, Okay, so but Alice is already on top of this, and she's like, "All right, I already got your screen up in the next room, and I'm ordering the screens for each dock to be prepared. It is nighttime, but considering the importance, I'm still gonna make sure that all the other citizens should come to the other screens to see this message." So a lot of these places that we've known are already setting up this stuff, and the next place we see though is Morgan's ship, and so he's heard it, and he's like, so it's playing in the main screen in their room. So we see Morgan's, Wapol, and the others, and Vivi's like, first someone, I think it's Morgan that says, "Wait, what's this feed? It's being fed all through the Navy's frequencies, but it's unencrypted." So like they're like surprised as as everyone else is, like, what's going on here? And Vivi's meaning like, "Hey, where?" Because she's concerned about how Morgan has been so Morgan has been lying about what's going on. She, like we just saw there at Dressrosa, Leo and the others there have already read the paper saying that Luffy uh, kidnapped Vegapunk. And Vivi sees this and just like, where are the Straw Hats? Where are Luffy, I should say. And Morgan's like, "You silly, look at this. This must be a recording. You can see a clock in the background. So this is definitely pre-recorded." And he says this couldn't be being displayed now though. For now, the Buster call's already going on, which means that island surely is in flames by now. And so now we switch to the different blues. We see the West Blue first, and then the North and South. And then some people in the West Blue like, "Oh, that's Vegapunk in the Vegapunk. I've never seen him before. I heard his mind is better than any scientific other people across the world, in the world." And the North Blue shows up. We see a winter island. Well, all of them probably winter, mostly North Blue, I'm sure. And one person's like, "Oh, that's the guy who's lit the world with his like." Are they talking like literally with like electricity and stuff? Do they got a lot of electricity everywhere? I don't know how that works in One Piece world. And and then we go to the South Blue, and they're like, "Why would he go all this trouble for the world to know this? To see something at once? Does he have an invention, a new thing that would change the world, and he wants us all to know it?" So we don't see anything else in the East Blue because we already just did Fuchsia Village. So that's that. So all the island, yeah, we get all this, we get all that stuff there, and then we switch. Now we switch back to no. First, last we go to where the Revolutionary Army is based on Kamabaka, and uh, and someone, I think it's as they're watching, Shaka is telling Vegapunk, well, it's gonna take like 10 minutes to brew the coffee, and then Vegapunk's like, oh darn it, I won't be able to get a sip in before I start having to tell the people. I need my caffeine, so I'm ready to say this. And Pythagoras, at this point in the recording, turns back to Vegapunk and says, I've finished my analysis. It's very unlikely that like anyone can interfere with our broadcast. And as that part's going on, we see first Ivankov looking at the message, the video as it's come up on the screen, and he's like, "Oh my God, Vegapunk must have gone completely mad. What's he up to, putting a broadcast like this out across the world?" And then we switch to the other officers, including and then Sabo and Koala, and Koala speaks first and says like, "Oh wow, that's Vegapunk that you guys are always telling us about." Uh, and the giant, the officer who's the giant, he says, "Oh, he's quite the man to do this in the middle of a crisis." And Sabo and Bello Betty and the others just are watching on. Oh wait, was that the flying guy who said that about Vegapunk? I don't. Maybe no, actually maybe that one with the rocket pack. I forget his name too. I think he might be the one that says, "Oh, that's Vegapunk." Koala just said like, "Oh my gosh, what's going on? We heard there's a Buster call going on, and now that he's leaving a message." And last there at the Revolutionary Army, we see Dragon recalling the day before when Shaka called him up and said, "I think I'll be dead soon," and now he's piecing together this. I think that of what he's up to. So now we finally get back to Egghead, and we get in the middle of some of the action, and we get back to Luffy's fight, and so him and he's still holding Kizaru, but and he's been trying to punch Saturn, but we don't see that. But then he comments, "Your punch seems that I can't just punch you because it's not going to damage you." And at this point, Kizaru, you can see, is getting pissed that he's still being held on by Luffy, and him and Saturn at the same time attempt to attack Luffy. Kizaru uses like laser beams from his eyes, while Saturn takes one of his tentacles and it's spider legs, but it looks like a tentacle. He tentaclizes his leg and tries to spear Luffy in the face, but Luffy's able to successfully dodge this. I think, no, did he get hit? No, I can see Kizaru's blast didn't work because it shows Luffy flip back and the eye beams go across his face, while I was trying to I can't tell. I don't think Saturn successfully attacked him. Got a hit in. And then Luffy reiterates like he did in the last chapter, "I'm not gonna let you two run off until and elaborates until I'm sure my friends escape." And then he does a new attack in this one. He grabs the two of them. He grabs Saturn now by his face, and no, it's his left hand really. And he grabs Saturn, and then he hits Kizaru, and he flings his arm back like he does sometimes with his other his punch attack, and he brings the two of them together like and splats them together with his hands. Oh, what does he call it? Gum Gum Booming Dawn symbol. And he stretches his arms way out because he's still really big. It looks like he got even bigger because now he has Saturn. No, he didn't. Yeah, first it looked like Saturn. He's just holding Saturn by the throat. But then when in the next panel he splats them together, Saturn's like inside his palm of his hand, and yeah, he did make his arms big. I can see now. When the next panel, you can see his arms got bigger as it went like this, and he flattened them doing both into pancakes. His his ability, I guess this must be like how he's breaking reality, and he can like do it. He can turn things rubbery. He splats them both together, and they both stop. They fall out of his hand, and they're like just flipping through the air. What's he do with the next? Oh, that's what he does. Oh, then when they're floating down, he grabs them and then he starts twisting them in his hands, kind of like a pizza dough. And he's like, since I can't actually damage you, referring to Saturn, I'll just send you guys flying for good. He's trying to get rid of them, give them a good distance from the island, so that he can make sure that they don't. He could probably maybe so he can get away too. So he successfully flings the two of them like frisbees almost, and one of the that we switched to one of the Marines who was watching with the binoculars, like, oh, I see Straw Hat Luffy, he's throwing something, and Kizaru ends up flying onto that ship. I think it's the same ship. He lands into one of the ships, and Luffy, well, after he does it, Luffy just starts sitting there laughing again. But this doesn't work on Saturn. Saturn, he boomerangs around, comes back, and starts and then flips his way self sideways, and so he's trying to roll his spiked legs into Luffy. Um, and Luffy does the thing he always does. His eyes pop out like, oh shit, kind of, and he uh and then he gets angry. He's like, what's gonna take to keep you down? And then we switch back to Kizaru, and we see him. He's laying down the ship. He looked like he broke the mast of it. Yeah, this must have been one of the ships that hadn't been damaged yet. It looks like it was sitting a fair ways off the island, off the coast. And so the other Marines run up to Kizaru and like, Admiral, are you okay? And Kizaru just sits there, and he's not moving. And he does. He puts his arm over his face. He looks like he's kind of like hiding his face in shame, so to speak. And also, we see him just breathing there. Like he still looks like he's perhaps not recovered from his fight with Luffy. And that's the last we see of him, I believe. And so Kizaru, we switch back to Luffy and Saturn. So now it's just the two of them fighting. So that's a setup. Oh. I just realized now this is the first point now Luffy's by himself against one of the Gorosei. And so Saturn's trying to spin after Luffy still, and Luffy's able to dodge that initial. So when he first showed him coming back, he almost got into Luffy's face. So Luffy's like, oh, that's right. Luffy's turned and he's doing a little Sonic run to clear up Saturn's attack, and Saturn's pursuing him. And while Saturn's doing this, one of the other Gorosei come into his voices to him, or with the telepathy or whatever. Saturn, there's no time. We have to stop Vegapunk's message. And so as that's going on, we switch briefly to Frankie's group with their escort, and they make it back to the ship. And the one I called Hagar, it's like, yeah, here's our ship, and either is that Bonnie, I think it is, saying, I hope Vegapunk and the others are all right. And so now we go back to the conversation with Saturn, and he's like, very well, I'll perform the summoning, and the other guy's like, do it, and suddenly we start seeing this electricity. We see all this blackness coming, and this is like what happened when Saturn himself skipped from where his ship was to Egghead, and it's just to see it's like the lightning this time was coming from the heavens itself. It just kind of, at first I thought this was meaning that actually meant that the mother flame machine was there. Where's Luffy there? Okay. Oh, yeah, this is definitely what's happening. So, we see some of the Marines' reaction to this as these lightning things come down. Actually, it looked more like shadowy, but they had someone used a zapping sound effect. So, no, it is say black lightning. Okay, but the way Oda draws it, it looks like just these cloudy tunnels, kind of like It reminds me of I think it was in the Harry Potter movies when they showed the Death Eaters teleporting around. They would have these shadowy things. That's what this kind of looks like, the way Oda drawed it. But it's in the Marines say it's lightning, and then we see Vega. We see Luffy's reaction as it's happening, and he's like just confused, like what the hell is that now? And the last two shots we see Sanji as he's still running away. He's still carrying. He's now still moving with. It showed him earlier. It looked like he was standing still, checking on Vegapunk, but now he's continuing his uh uh um his own evacuation, trying to get far away from where Luffy's fighting Saturn as possible. And he points out that looks just like when um uh the uh the Spider, or when Saturn himself, he doesn't call him that. He's calling him. This translation calls him Spider Geezer. Uh, this looks like what happened when the Spider Geezer appeared. Well, actually, that comes like I kind of went left to right here, but in the last big part of this is part of a double page. It shows the area around where Luffy is fighting Saturn, with some of the buildings to the left and to the right, all the other stuff that's been destroyed by their fight. I think Luffy's in there. I think that's Luffy there to the left. And we see Saturn, and behind him on both sides, it's like four other plumes of the lightning are coming down. And you can see, or some of them, you can see the magic pentagram, like the summoning circle coming, implying that he's bringing in the other four Gorosei. They're arriving as like the reinforcements in this here. So, and Luffy's there by himself. So that's the end of the chapter too. And it's a break next week. Also, there's one of those little text box, not the text box, what do they call that? When Oda puts a little thing, and it just reads, the planets are aligning. So, holy shit. Luffy's about to face all the Gorosei in the next chapter. And I would presume then that that means we'll get to see them in their other forms. And I was looking at that earlier, so because someone else was saying this too. I saw that with someone else was doing that in the chapter. I think it's 1085 with I think it's 1085. Let me go find that one in a second. That is the chapter where Sabo. It was a flashback chapter where Sabo was trying to save Cobra. The silhouettes of the only the silhouettes of the Gorosei was shown at the time. See, yeah, this one, I think so. Let me go back and pull this up a second. At the time, and now we were trying to, everyone was guessing what they could be. Right? No, is that the one? And now we're gonna hopefully figure out what all those yeah, here they are. So we had the one that definitely looks like a bird. So and when you look at this panel, it's like toward the end of the chapter 1085. Sabo's in the middle with Cobra behind him, and in the back you can see all the silhouettes. And you got we can see Saturn's to the left because we can see with his horns. Then there's right toward the very furthest back on the floor is one that has this Grim Reaper kind of look, like a long neck, maybe a hooded almost look. And I don't know if that's like his. I thought that was like a scythe looking thing he was holding, but I think that just might have been I think that just might be the flames around that, as like he's in his awakened form. And then there's one way in the top. There's one above that's like where the wall, where the yeah, that would be where Eam, right up below, just below Eam's throne. I wonder if that was Eam, or that's just the other one. Probably, but that one looks like it's the largest, the way Oda drew it. And to the right, there's two. One looks like a bird, and it's hard to say with this other one. It's also got horns, kind of like Saturn, but the horns go out horizontally. They don't curve or stay vertical. They're weird little horizontal ones. So only the out of those 5, other than Saturns, we only can figure out that one's probably going to be bird-like. Have a bird-like a demonic look, presumably within that, if they appear here. So holy shit. Whew. So a lot happened. Also, it was fun to see that Luffy going toe to toe. At least one of the Gorosei was like, unless Saturn's been going easy, I thought Luffy was doing pretty good against him. And now he's gonna have the other 4 there. My first thought is if they arrive there, if they all have that same ability Saturn did to paralyze people in their place. It didn't seem to work on Luffy. He used that attack on Luffy a couple chapters ago, I think. I think it was 2 chapters. I know he did. What I'm saying is I think it was this 1107. He used that attack on Luffy before Luffy punched him. But it didn't seem like. I'm wondering if Saturn hadn't even properly tried to freeze Luffy, and if he could or couldn't, maybe if he can't, I'm thinking all 5 of them did it together. I don't think Luffy could overpower that willpower or whatever that is they used. How they did it earlier with Sanji, Frankie, and Atlas. So my next thing too is Luffy said his punches aren't working. But we saw earlier that Frankie got a solid hit on Saturn. So I'm wondering if it just would take a piercing type attacks, basically, or cutting attack, like if Zoro was there, to damage Saturn successfully. I'm hoping Luffy's remembered to use his advanced armament haki. And I'm wondering if that's like just ineffective based on Luffy's like current strength or something. If he is doing it right, doing it like he should be against him. Also, it's nice to get some of the other characters again. Oh, look at that too. Rebecca looks like she's armed with a sword now. Oh, that's cool. So, because she was that referee and she was doing it, she was going there as like a political thing. It's like she was wearing a dress in that. In this scene here, she's wearing a tank top, and I'm certain she's holding a sword. She's got sheathed on her right side, so she's a left-handed person too. Oh, that's right. Because I mean, when I'm reading about this, I shouldn't be surprised she has a sword. She knows how to use one. It's just funny to see her walking around with one. I would have thought while she's in Dressrosa, she wouldn't feel the need to do that. So maybe if she was going on a ship heading somewhere else, she'd want to strap one on in case there were other pirate attacks or something. But apparently she keeps one on her when she's around the city still. And another interesting thing to point out too is, okay, these guys both are like using some kind of summoning magic, and they can communicate across thousands of miles with some kind of what I call telepathy or something. Let's make sure I got that right. I'm gonna look that up actually. Telepathy. Yeah. I'll probably sing around, but that's the right one I'm thinking of. We can communicate with each other. So they got like some kind of telepathy thing going on, and it's nice to see that people aren't. Some of the places we saw are not afraid to put up the denden mushies for this message. I would have thought I'm sure some places are that will be like, oh, that trader's leaving a message to us. We don't put it on the screens. Like the Marines are already doing this, but I'm thinking about people, communities. We've seen how people are in the One Piece world when someone's branded a criminal, like Roger and Robin, and how Ace saw the fallout of his dad's criminal labeling. Oh, any child of Roger's the demon, not devil's, like, well, Robin's called a demon, some kind of spawn of Satan type thing, and Robin was called this similar stuff. So those communities like that, where those people are, I would imagine, are not gonna want to listen to whatever Vegapunk has to say. But it is nice that some of them are listening. So anyways, I think that's about it. We haven't seen in a bit where what Brooke and Lilith are gonna do though. We haven't seen Zoro again yet, but yeah, things are about to heat up, and I can't wait. Unfortunately, there is a break, so we're not gonna find out this week what happens. Uh, uh, Also, I just realized something too. Luffy's hanging on to Saturn's face, but in the last chapter, Sanji was pointing out how he has got venom on some parts of his body, or I thought it was like all of his body. So Luffy better be careful too fighting with Saturn, because that poison could still probably harm him. I think he's obviously Luffy's not impervious to any damage. Kizaru at first was doing pretty good against him, but it looked. I just realized he didn't even get damaged by any of that poison. Oh, excuse me. In this chapter, despite Sanji pointing that out. Which chapter was that? Here it is. Yeah, it was in the last chapter. He was using poison. Okay, yeah. So Luffy's been doing well in dodging those poisons. It looks like it's mainly his. It's likely just his Saturn's legs with the poison, and that's why Luffy is being very careful in this chapter and avoiding those attacks. So when him and Kizaru both attacked Luffy and he flipped back to dodge it, he was being careful there because wait, where the other chapters go? Over here, to make sure he didn't get any of that poison on him. And Wapol was in the chapter too. I don't know if I said that, but we saw Wapol briefly, but he doesn't say anything. He just sitting there. Oh, look at that cute. There's a still, I think, there's a little shot in the VV scene with Morgans and Wapol where you see one of the other journalists there fawning over Vivi being there. She's got like this, and she's like, "Oh my God, it's Vivi!" And there's a little heart next to her. Oh yeah, I think there was something in the last chapter I also missed. I was gonna bring up. I keep missing things in every chapter. Did I miss anything last one I wanted to say? I think there was, but I don't know what it was this time. No, not really. Just that, yeah, it was cool to get all the other so we don't see any more of what happened with either with Caribou, Davon, and Van Augur. We don't know that outcome. That ended in the last chapter, and they don't show any of that. Yeah, so I guess that's it. This for today.